Welcome to the Recipes for Resilience. My name is Pauliina Mapatha. I'm a positive intelligence and life coach on the mission to inspire professionals and organizations with change, transformation, and wellness. And my guest today is Professor Jesika Singh. And she works at the University of Limpopo as the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Partnerships. Her focus is on research development of staff and postgraduate students. She holds her doctorate in teacher education from the University of Johannesburg. And she's been working in education for 28 years. And her career started in basic education as a teacher, then head of department, deputy principal and principal. And the career further continued to higher education and training, where she has worked as a senior lecturer in geography education, a head of department in languages and social sciences, research developer and director of research, prior becoming the Deputy Vice-Chancellor. Her publications are mainly in the field of teacher education, and she is widely published and supervises their postgraduate students. Jesika is also dedicated to promoting women in research and management. And I also know her as a very committed to her family and community. And this year, just on a personal note, she is celebrating 30 years of marriage with her husband. And Jesika hails from KZN and is based in Polokwane, South Africa. Welcome, Jesika.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me on your platform.
Pleased to have you here. I think we are going to learn, I am going to definitely learn a lot of new things in this interview. So always want to start on the personal story so that we can connect with you and see that you know, our leaders, they've also started from somewhere. And would like to know what kind of challenges have you experienced in your life and work, and then what kind of strategies have you used to keep going, to move forward?
Thank you very much. I think in terms of my personal life and in terms of my career, like everyone else, as you grow and you mold yourself into a person, there's a lot of challenges that come your way. And for us, for me, I think one of the aspects has been to, society has a mold in which they would like us as women to grow into and to fit ourselves into. And breaking through that mold and in reinventing myself is and has been a continuous challenge, because like I find that in different spheres of life, whether it's in your family or in your society, in your cultural, you know, cultural situations, at work, you find yourself that you have to fit into a role or a mold. And for me, it's more about me than actually fitting myself into a mold. And I always try to reinvent or break that mold, or more importantly, mold myself more than fitting into somebody else's version of how I should be or what I should be or who I should be. So I think there's always a challenge of breaking the mold and reinventing yourself as a person. And it has also been, you know, if I think of our society and cultural aspects, and also religious aspects of society, we expected to do and say and act in certain ways. And I think the challenge is always to be true to yourself, who you are. And for me, it's, you know, growing up, I grew up in a family where my parents always believed in hard work. not to please other people, but so that they put food on the table, so that the children had good values. And it's the simple things in life that make a difference. My father was an ordinary person. He was a driver, a truck driver, but the way in which he went about his work, totally dedicated to what he was doing. And that has also taught me that when you face challenges, you stand firm, you still work hard, and you work smartly. And at the end of the day, it's important that you take care of the people around you. You become a citizen who is responsible, who has values in them. And even growing up, I have a very good role model in my mother, who is still alive. My dad is late now, but my mom, um, with our lot in life in terms of being a stay-at-home mom, she represented more than a stay-at-home mom to me, because she taught me so many principles of how we live our life and how we mold ourselves, whether a career woman or a leader or a community work person working in the community. Like a simple principle of what she did was, she was ran the home in a way that really impressed me. Even now, she's 83, I'm still impressed with the way in which she ran our home. It was challenging. There was very little finances to have anything fancy, but what she did was she planted a garden alongside a bit of a main road near our home. It was a vegetable garden, but it was quite a big garden alongside the road for about a kilometer. And she would single-handedly go and work in that garden on a daily basis, provide food for the family on a daily basis. And we also had some extras, which she turned my sister and I into mini entrepreneurs. We went around, we would to our neighbors, and sold these things that she grew in a garden. So it was so, the way in which she ran the household, and the way in which she used her bare hands to run a garden. And from that, we learned, we all also had green fingers ourselves. So we learned these things that, like now, you have challenges. And in our current, scenario or society, there are challenges with food security. And I always think to myself, how do you overcome this challenge? You plant your own garden, your vegetable garden, so that your family doesn't go hungry, and you're able to teach them certain skills. If you have more, you can turn yourself into a small-time entrepreneur, and sell this, and also provide food security for others. And I also, one of the challenges is, in our current society, we find that people want everything now, here. If I want something, I must get it no matter what. My father taught me a simple principle, and that is, you save for things that you would like to own. For example, he had his eye on a Toyota Corona in those days, and he saved diligently until he was able to buy it cash. And it was a second-hand car, but for us, it represented our whole world, and we had many memories and traveling in that vehicle. And in my own life now, I also try to use that principle of saving, to get something that you would like. It's very fulfilling, because you have a sense of, yes, this is me. I saved for this. And when you own it, you take a lot of pride in it. You look after it. How he looked after that car, so well over the years, and it was like 20 or 30 years that he owned it. So, I mean, even with myself now, I also adopt the same principle when it comes to vehicles. You don't use it to um, just to show off as a symbol. It's more of, I've saved for this. I love this. I enjoy driving it. I enjoy looking after it. So those are some basic principles that, like I've grown up with, and I carry into my life, into my family, into my workplace. Like, um, especially with looking after that which is entrusted to you or given to you. You know, like, I mean, a simple thing like furniture in your office. You look after it, and it must last you years, and you know, you must enjoy it. It must be a lived experience for you. Yeah, so those are some of the, you know, challenges. It was not difficult. It was difficult growing up in a family where we, you know, we had to walk long distances to school. Even up to the time that I was in matric, we did not have running water in a home. We did not have electricity in a home. I used to, I used to study with a paraffin lamp, and you can see the result is the spectacles. But it was difficult. But I still believe that challenging situations actually allow us to build ourselves up as people.
Yeah.
It allows us to grow as people, because when you're in that time, you don't hate the situation. You look for ways in which you can improve the situation.
Yeah.
So I have a great respect for people who face those challenges today. For example, in our current society, we have people who are in the same situation, who have to study by lamplight, who, you know, or candlelight, who do not have running water in their home. So I can empathize, you know, in situations like that, especially I am in higher education, and when we have students coming from such homes, I can, you know, empathize with them and realize that what they want is an education, and an education is also a key to unlock, you know, further potential that they have, and also for their careers, for their families. Yeah, so those are some of the challenges and how I've learned to grow through them.
Yeah, that's quite inspiring in such a way that uh, really starting from, I would say, humble beginnings, and especially like if we look at wealth distribution and all that. So, and then working up, starting as a teacher and working up the career. To the higher education and sort of is it the third highest post in academic environment, sort of if we look at the Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, and then comes the Deputy Vice-Chancellor. So that's a great achievement. So definitely has included putting really the best foot forward to work hard. And I loved when you also said work smart, because I think that's the other thing that sometimes just working hard, you can, I always want to take the wellness into the picture, so that if one is working too hard and doesn't find the balance between, let's say, family life or personal life and the career, one might deplete the batteries, or, you know, and which is not good for anyone. So I wanted to maybe still to check. So you really talked about sort of the values that have been instilled into you from your parents, and whether now that that you know your positions grew and obviously become more and more demanding also. Well, I think a teacher's position is very demanding. It's maybe in other aspects even more demanding than management position, but just time-wise, and how did you then, any other recipes for working smart and finding that balance between the different areas of life?
Thank you very much. I think the word that you touched on is balance. And you know, to be resilient, you have to create a balance in terms of everything, of who you are and what you do, and especially with the career. And you are also, you know, put your finger on the pulse of it, and that is the teaching profession. For me, teaching is a calling, and I chose it knowing full well that this is what I want to do. I want to instill, you know, the value system that education brings into any society, and how it has the potential to uplift that society. And once you train as a teacher and you're dedicated to the profession, you're always a teacher. You know, irrespective of what career path you may choose later on in life, the teaching instinct is always there. And I also believe, and I salute teachers across the, the country, in our societies across the globe, because it's not a very easy profession to be in. It's very demanding, but at the same time, I believe it's a noble profession. Because what teachers do, a lot of people say that in other professions, your faults, if you make a mistake as a doctor, your patient is compromised, may die. But as a teacher, there's little room for error, because your students or your learners or the children in your care have to live a full life ahead of them. They represent the future in terms of what society you want to see today. They are there in the future. So if I look at recipes of resilience in terms of teaching and where I've come from and where I am currently, I think creating a balance between family and other responsibilities that you may have as a woman, and being a teacher and doing your work to your full potential, it requires a lot of dedication from your side, a lot of planning. I'm on the analytical side a bit, because I don't just believe in just, I mean, that's the personality side of me. Don't just jump around and just anything that falls into your lap. I would like to think that I've thought something through. I've considered the pros and the cons of whatever situation it is in the work, in at home, and also get a balanced view of if in terms of a career, if this is what I want to do, in terms of if you want to make a move. I find another aspect that I maybe want to touch on is that a lot of people in our current society, in terms of career, especially, well, men and women, but if you see a job opportunity, you just jump for it. But with me, I've one of the things that I believe is that you must give your full to whatever you've committed to now.
Yeah.
If I am a Deputy Vice-Chancellor at the University of Limpopo now, at this moment, I give my full everything of me into the current job that I am in. And if I've committed myself to a 5-year contract, then I've committed myself. So remember, in life, every day there's going to be opportunities here, there, and everywhere. So you don't jump and run and fly to everything that's comes on your way. And so you actually have to pick strategically what is it that you want to do, and how these opportunities can fit into your career, and how you move along. And I've been very privileged as well, because when I left basic education after getting a doctorate, I felt I would love to move into higher education. It wasn't just a whim thing; it was a thought process that went into that, together with family decisions. And I had lots of opportunities available to me at the University of Limpopo. And that's what I love about where I work. And because if you are able to show your dedication and your hard work, there are lots of opportunities for your career, for you to advance in your career. And also with regards to that, I don't believe in advancing alone, because there's so much of women around me, so many women around me who have so much of potential, and I see them as I see myself. Like, I was interested in research, and an opportunity arose, and it was not necessarily a promotion opportunity. It was an opportunity to do something in a research office as a research developer, working with staff and students. And I liked doing that. And I took that opportunity, and it led me to other opportunities. So I think sometimes if you do what you like and enjoy, doors open for you.
Yeah.
And
yeah. So you're talking like a
situation.
Yeah, I think I see the mentor in you. I see the coach like leader in you. The way you're saying you need to see the bigger picture. You need to imagine your future self, and at the same time really see what do you enjoy, what makes you tick, if we can say so, like what are you passionate about? What is your purpose in life? And then doing your best, and that can or usually leads then into fulfilling, well, making the best of your life, and hopefully comes with other opportunities and promotions if we focus on the career side. I love that. We've agreed with Jesika to really I think our discussion topics, we said we're going to talk about the woman leadership and obviously because she's in academia, so we will be looking quite a bit also in the academic environment, and also the transformation of women finding their place in the different roles, and maybe even more broadly, because I think South Africa is sort of an exemplary country in such a way that coming where we come from is very tough, and then getting the constitution that is probably the most advanced in the world, and then finding the ways to actually implement and work towards all those rights that are expressed in the constitution, the equal rights. So you already mentioned a few things, how you see things in your work, and how you want to. I think I love the way you said advance together, not just alone. Is there maybe something else that you want to mention? How do you promote women in research and management roles?
Thank you. Yes, maybe a few other points that I would like to, to mention. I think one of the ways is that we need to understand, as women leaders especially, that there is enough space for all of us to work alongside each other. Because sometimes we end up in a very competitive kind of situation. And but for me personally, I realized that a long time ago, that we can all work alongside each other. We can all be who we dream we want to be. And there's no need for us to constantly be engaged in this high level of competition, between women. And so I believe that very strongly. Like in my current job, I believe like what we do at the University of Limpopo to encourage academics and women in research, we have created an organization called the University of Limpopo Women's Academic Solidarity Association. It was founded some 13 years ago. And I think the principle behind how this organization works is very important, because our Vice-Chancellor is our patron and supports it fully. What we do is that we allow young women and also women in academia the opportunity to grow, because what we do is the leaders. So we don't we have like an executive team that leads the organization, but we keep changing these leaders. So other people have an opportunity, to grow into these positions, to lead a group of people. And then the opportunities that we have in terms of career advancement, like in academia, higher degrees like a doctoral degree is one of the starting or basic points. And we find that women take a longer time to get to the point where they are able to get their doctorates or PhDs. So what we do is try to create space and time for them to actually get it sooner rather than later, because it helps with their careers as well. And the way in which we create time and space is for them to be able to have like quiet time. We know in homes it's difficult, with kids and families, etc. So we've worked very successfully for the last, over a decade on the writing retreat model, where we take postgrad students, females, and staff away for weekend writing retreats, like a 4-day writing retreat or 2 days. Sometimes it's a Saturday writing retreat, so that they have concentrated time and space to focus on these things, whether it's they are finishing their master's or PhD, to write chapters, etc., or to do articles and to in terms of the career development. And then we also do a lot of workshops to coach them and mentor them. So this team has been working so well, and that's one of the ways in which we actually promote development of postgraduate and staff members, women staff members, and also in terms of a career development. We have at the university specific programs where we actually um, you know, choose women who are showing the trajectory of, they want to develop their careers, and specifically like women in management or women in leadership. And there's some programs that we've tailor-made so that women can get rated. We have a national rating system, and so that they can promote their specific focus areas where they conduct research. And we find this is working. I also am a firm believer that you put programs in place not for the sake of it, but actually it has to have a broader picture in mind, where as a university we want to grow women staff members and researchers from an early age, and as they progress in their careers or in age, they are able to fit into this leadership and management roles. Very often you get people saying, why are you not transforming? Why don't you have women in ABC positions? It's not as easy as that. You don't take women and dump them into leadership positions and then expect them to excel when they don't have the necessary skills, tools, experience. So nurturing and developing them, and taking them through a process, so that when they do apply for such positions, they are well on their way, very capable.
Well equipped. I believe in curriculum development and in education, if it's done thoroughly, you sort of first do the baseline, like you check what are the needs and all that. So I'm wondering if you can share more insight about you mentioned the word competition, and that has come that often comes up, and I've also experienced it in my career, that unfortunately women are sometimes even going so far that they're backstabbing each other in various organizations. So that was the one thing. And then also, like, what was the reasons behind why you organized the retreats? Was there specific challenges that you identified that women have, whereby the retreat is the solution?
Yes, there's a bit of both in terms of the workplace and the personal life or the work home life. The challenges come from both areas. For example, if you're an academic, you have an academic load in terms of you have a teaching load, you have postgraduate students, and they may not necessarily be the time that you really need, because these kind of activities need focus. It needs you to be dedicated for time, and we all like to get into the zone when it comes to writing. There's you need that space. So from the work side, it's the normal work that you are engaged in that may not always allow you that opportunity. But fortunately for us, we've created this opportunity in the work environment. Then on the home side, like I alluded to it a bit earlier on, you have a lot of family responsibilities, and you're not able to, like, maybe a person who does not have those responsibilities can go and say, I've got a work day. When I'm done, I go home, I relax, I start doing, either a chapter or do some writing or some research. But I find that women do not necessarily fit into that kind of a mold. So although they try, and sometimes you don't want to burn yourself out just so that you want to achieve something. So that's the reason why we create that space of you know, the perfect writing environment where you're getting some support. We also like give statistical support during the time. We also, as you mentioned earlier, the wellness side of it, we also like would do some sessions of, you know, either walking uh, or an aerobic session or a meditation session. So there's a creation of a balance, and also to support them. If I am writing something and I have some data and I need a statistician, so that kind of service is also there. In between, we do some workshops, motivational kind of workshops, you know, in these writing retreats. So it's not, we have the dedicated time where everybody sits and writes together. We don't actually put people in different, you know, rooms. We all in a big room, spaced out, everyone at their laptops. It's actually very inspirational to see others working. And during your lunch and whatever, you get to talk to, we call them sisters, your bigger sisters or your more experienced sisters. So it's a bit of all round, but you focused on a particular activity. So it's something that works for us as a team, and you know, like we continue doing it, but we always look for new ways of you know, still doing this writing retreat as a model and the primary focus of why we get them together, but look at for different ways. You know, from time to time we get in different kinds of coaches, mentors. We create different spaces within that model, you know, depending on what's happening. For example, if we look at where we've been now with COVID in the last year and a half or two, there's this whole issue of mental wellness. So that's what we would bring into, you know, as a writing retreat that we may have, so that we're catering for the whole of the person.
Yeah. So are you aware of other universities doing this, or is this really something specific for University of Limpopo?
We actually, the model itself, the initial model was from Rhodes University, and where they had it was slightly different, the model, but we've adapted it to suit our context. So that's initially where they had a group of a few women working together, and you know, how they learned from each other. They documented that, and one of our colleagues, one of the founding members, you know, brought that to us. And then at Wits University, they also have a rural facility in Mpumalanga, where they also adopted a similar kind of, you know, to get people away to that facility, a rural environment, very calm and relaxing, and you know, so they were able to write. So we took these ideas of the model, and we reinvented it, you know, to suit our context and how we would like to progress. We put some formality into it, but at the same time, we also have a lot of freedom for people to, you know, to achieve what is it they set out to. We also have like mentoring a bit in the model. And basically people, before they go, they set out their goals of what is it that they would like to achieve during that period, and they write it out. And even when they are done, they share, and they also you know, there's like magazines, there's newsletters of the organization, and we keep profiling people. I achieved this, and motivating each other as well along the way.
Yeah. So it's I think it's indeed it's also sort of building the team, building the women researchers team, and those relationships from the more junior ones up to the more senior researchers. And how do you see then? You already we talked about that that it's important to prepare people for the management and leadership roles, and not just put someone there unprepared to two big boots. So how, because of course then if we need to start from young researchers, that's a tedious process then, because it's also all those, I know in academic environment it's even it's even more scrutinized, because you need to have the certain amount of publications and I mean the doctorate degree and the publications and all those requirements. So how is the transformation in relation to gender equality? How do you see it being and going currently in the University of Limpopo and maybe because in the academic environment in South Africa?
I think if we look at gender transformation in academia, there have been a lot of strides that have been made. Just a few years ago, you would see that in our landscape, we didn't have many female vice-chancellors of universities and women of color, for example. But that landscape is slowly changing, and you can see that like the leading universities in the country are run by female vice-chancellors. Many of our chancellors of universities are females. I think as you mentioned earlier, our constitution and our environment in terms of transformation lends itself to that. But then on the other hand, each institution is unique, and it has its own set of unique contextual factors that are built into it. Like for ourselves, we are a historically disadvantaged university, in terms of our history, where we come from. So we've also have to build in that culture. And I think one of the important things that we do is that in terms of transformation and our gender policies, we include that in our strategic thinking and in our strategic planning. So at that level, we start. So it's not just pockets here and there. It's broadly as an institution that we are heading in this direction. And I also believe that I've been at the university for 15 years, and I can see absolutely a drastic change in positive direction in terms of how we've been encouraging women in management and leadership. We do have a lot of work to do. As I was saying, it doesn't happen overnight. But we've really opened up our minds to how we would do this. We also have a very, very open council at our university who are always pushing us as the management to achieve these targets of where we'd like to be. And so I think environmental factors are very important, and the way the people that you have around you who are willing and willing to put their money where their mouth is, so to speak. So these are all the factors that help us as a university to achieve these goals, and we've been doing very well in that regard. But the thing is, we always want to promote young women. We want to promote Black women because our context is such that these are the factors that are important in our context. And we know that if we want to change large society goals, we need to start in our own spaces. Whether it is, I always believe I speak in terms of academia, but I have a strong also passion about changing such kind of transformation, especially gender issues, from a spiritual level, as in the religious side of it. Because I am a Christian, and I also believe that women in terms of religion and their spirituality is very important. For me, it is one of the pillars on which I build myself, my career, so my family. So I also believe that is another area that needs transformation. I'm very vocal about this, because over the last weekend we had a call for prayer on Sunday, and I saw some posters, and it's like men only reflected on the posters for a call for prayer, men ministers and pastors, etc. But I believe that religion is a relationship that we have as individuals. It's a spiritual relationship that we have with God. And women play a very, very crucial role in this arena. And I believe that it's in as much as we say that we see a picture of only men being represented in a day of prayer. I believe that there were millions of women praying on that day, and and there are also a lot of women leaders in spiritual areas. Actually need to come to the forefront. So my point is that it's not only in academia, it's in other aspects of our daily lives or living that women need to feature and take their rightful place, and also to challenge the the religions of the world because of the way in which they view and portray women. And another important area is in our communities. And maybe here as well, I wanted to mention that as a university, we focus, on our communities and the role that women play in our communities. And one of the things we do is there are a lot of in our area. There are a lot of women farmers, and we try to provide we have a rural development and innovation hub. We try to provide opportunities for these women, to workshop them, give them skills. Like now everything is virtual, to give them skills that enable them to be to do well in terms of wherever they are, the types of businesses they're running from an agricultural perspective, but other women skills, leadership skills in their own communities where they live. It may be different types of skills, not necessarily agricultural, but that's also a role we like to play as as a university, so that we don't only encourage transformation at the institution, but in all the other agencies around the institution that contribute to the university as a whole.
Yeah. So and it sounds like it is the sort of a community outreach, and to be felt, to be part of the community where the institution is, where the university is, and so it is. I love it the way you are bringing the leadership and innovation to community level, to individual level, and in various projects and outsourced, because I also believe that we are all leaders, or we can all be leaders. We should all be leaders in our own contexts. Like you started even talking about your parents, and really like about your mom, how you said that she really took the leadership of the home and family and food security in the family largely. How else is how else, because part of your portfolio is innovation. Is there something else that you would like to share with us, how the innovation forms part of your work and life?
I suppose innovation came with the portfolio, research, innovation, partnerships, and I have never personally thought of myself as an innovator, or I work in that space and I enjoy it and I see the potential, and really it has grown on me. And then I realized that there has been something in terms of entrepreneurship. You remember I mentioned earlier about my sister and I going and selling those little produce that we had from the garden, and then I realized that there's it's not just entrepreneurship, it's a whole range of other innovations. Now currently in our society we focus a lot on tech innovations, but tech innovations come with progress. So we shouldn't be saying, oh, this is an innovation. Actually, it's a natural progression. Technology, as we growing as societies and communities, we're getting more advanced in terms of technology. For me, the focus on innovation should be, it's like more of the ideas that everyone has. I know that I'm convinced that every individual has brilliant ideas. No matter what it is, if you are in a kitchen peeling a potato and you're using a knife, and then you say, but they are potato peelers. And then you say, but this potato peeler is not sharp enough. I'm just trying to bring across that we all have these innovative ideas, but harnessing them and changing them into something else. So we think in innovative ways, and we have these innovative ideas. Now, we want to play in the space where, as a higher education institution of learning and teaching, we want to make our students see that even if you train as a teacher, they're out, you're going to teach in a classroom. How can you use innovation with your learners? You're teaching in a rural school, there's no electricity. What do you do to teach a certain experiment if you can't find chemicals, for example? So my husband is also a teacher and a science teacher at that. And he has these brilliant ideas of to teach a simple science to children and teach the concepts, but use simple things like coins in water to see how many you can fill into the. That excites children. How many coins can you fill into a glass of water before it tips over? And then they do a whole range of things like estimating and guessing, and and they also learn certain principles of science. So that's what I would, like us to see us going forward into that space where every one of us, no matter what our career is, we see ourselves as innovators within our space of how we can do things in a different way, in a better way, so that the people that we work with, whether it's a patient or a child, um, so that they benefit, and it's for the common good of everyone at the end of the day. So that's our aim in like for me personally, of how I see innovation at the university. What we do is that we have a whole range of programs that we run in terms of entrepreneurship for our students. And fortunately, we have a national program as well called EDI, um, which is also encouraging us as universities to become entrepreneurial universities. So when we become entrepreneurial universities, it doesn't mean we're going to change this whole view of how we produce knowledge and the research, but just do it in a way that encourages the whole innovation side of people. So we have a lot of projects where students get the necessary skills of how to market themselves, how to change their ideas into business plans, and so forth. And we also, through the competitions, etc., fund these, and we take them to national level and compete. Last year we had one of our students doing absolutely well at national level, and a female student at that. And then so these are some of the things that we would love to do with our students, take them to a different level in a different space.
Yeah, so it's like not to just in the face of challenges, really to be open to explore different opportunities or choices, and navigating and thereby coming with innovative solutions, and not to sit back and say, oh, I can't do because I lack this and that and what and not. So that's really about being resourceful and having that positive outlook, and saying that despite not having all the goodies or something, I can still do my work. I can still see how best to demonstrate this in my teaching, or how best can I make my thoughts into business, or whatever it is. So that's lovely. So it's more really, not only technological innovation, but the sort of a social innovation, or I think there is a different ways that people talk about it, or there is different, if we start Googling and looking at the research thereof. I see that you've also done some research on Indigenous knowledge systems. So I believe that's also really part of it, that it's the traditional knowledge and everything, and how can we bring it, and it's those are huge innovations, and they've been there for ages. And how do we best make make them to benefit us also today?
Yes. On the issue of IKS, Indigenous Knowledge Systems, at the university, we also have a research niche area on that, and we have a group of staff members whose interests lie in that. But very interestingly is they come from all different disciplines, whether it's the social sciences or the natural sciences. You've got your people doing research on traditional medicines, and people doing research on different kinds of foods, and then the social side of how our cultural aspects are linked to each other. And I have an Indian background. I've been born in South Africa, but the Indian heritage brings with it a lot of scope for comparative research. Because if I look at my own context here, recently we've been hearing a lot about moringa and the plant moringa, and we've done some research as well. At the university, we've got a few researchers who have expertise in this area. But as a food source, it's very linked to Indian, culture. It's the moringa tree is like a standard in a home where you use the leaves in food, different types of food. And another one that we have common in South Africa is aloe, the plant.
Yeah.
It's also, growing up, my grandmother used to, if you had like a sprain on your ankle or any internal, like an injury, she would boil the aloe and mix it with turmeric, and we would put it onto the area and tie it up, and it would draw out the pain. That's a simple illustration of how we can use our indigenous, whatever is around us. And we have such a broad spectrum of indigenous knowledge in South Africa and in Africa as a whole. So as a university, we also a consortium member of the Center for Indigenous Knowledge Systems in the country. It's a 5-university consortium. And we're now branching out into Africa as well, to other African countries as well. So there's a lot of scope in where we carve ourselves a niche in terms of research. But at the same time, it is very what we call research uptake, where anyone in any community can use that research practically in their daily lives. And that's important for us, because research on the shelf is of no...
That's very important, and I think even the Human Science Research Council is really trying now to look how can research reach ordinary, us, other people who are not in academia, to benefit us and everybody in the community. Thank you, Jesika. I think it's time for us to wrap up, and we've discussed so many interesting things. If you needed to bottom line your sort of main encouragement and for other women leaders or women who aspire to be leaders, what would be your main sort of message?
It's going to be a bit of a long message. I've always lived by these principles. I call it the triple F. It's the faith, the family, and and the friends. Personally, on that level, I would want to leave this message with whoever listens to me, is that in order to create a balance between career and your personal life, I think the personal life, you have to have a strong support base. And like for me, my family, my immediate family and my extended family form that. And I also, as I've mentioned, I believe my faith is something that also keeps me mentally well. It encourages me, and I also have a family in that regard as well, a faith family. And I know that friends, for me, sometimes you have your friends, people say, for a season, a reason, and a lifetime. And I've got a group of friends who, for various reasons, have come into my life, and now probably 30 years of friendship, and each is different, and I can count them on my 1 or 2 hands. And I think that's a very stabilizing factor for me, because in order to create a balance, you need people who are who understand you, especially as a woman. I like, especially with friends, we just accept each other for who we are. We praise each other for where we are, and we just love each other. you know, it's very similar to family. You know, people say that your friends are family that you choose, you know. So so I think those are three important factors for me on that side. But in terms of personally, I believe that you need to just be yourself. For me, contentment is very important for the self. I'm always working. There are times when I'm a bit discontent, but my main focus is I must be happy and I must be content with where I am, who I am, what I have. I think contentment is very important because I feel if you're content with what you have, you make room for a whole lot more, whether it's you know, emotional things or wellness things or career opportunities. It's and I always believe that there's a lot we still have to learn about ourselves, um, and we discover each other, you know, we discover things about ourselves with others and with ourselves on a daily basis, and we need to love ourselves. You know, my brother-in-law is a doctor, and he always says, you know what, love yourself first, and then you'll be able to pour into everyone else, and you'll be able to give a lot to other people. And and you know, you don't live in the image of others, you are yourself. And you know, it's I feel like sometimes we too hard on ourselves, we, you know, and that's when we pull ourselves down ourselves. You know, nobody does it for us, we can actually destroy ourselves. So I think it's important for us to be ourselves and be content with who we are. There are definitely areas that we all want to change about ourselves. So work on those things, you know, what you can do, you do. And I also don't put pressure on myself. I don't put pressure on myself that I must be this, I must achieve this, I work towards it. If I'm unable to do something, I accept that. Yes, I cannot do this. It's fine. It's okay. It's okay. And it's okay to make mistakes. Okay. As long as we are able to, as I was mentioning earlier, you know, renew, reinvent ourselves all the time, and be happy with ourselves. So as you can see, these principles, money cannot buy. You know, it's how you work with each other, and I think people are very important to me. And finally, I would also like to say is that you know, I need to be able to renew myself all the time, and no man is an island unto him or herself. We need people around us, and I really felt this with the COVID. I miss my, although I'm, you know, chatting to friends, etc., and family, but I miss being with people and that human touch. So I think people are very important for me, and you know, I like to treat them well, and every person that I encounter, you know, it must be a personal encounter. You mean something to me. I value you. So that's what I would like to leave with everyone.
Thank you so much, Jesika. I think you've really talked into to finding your own authentic self and be that, not to get into the molds that other society or other people would like you to conform to, but to find yourself, your authentic way, and follow your heart, and also keep the balance between the different areas of life. I will ask some links from Jesika, and I will put what she's mentioned to the certain associations and centers, and also her own contact details. So I will put those ones in the show notes, and also I will put into the show notes a link that if you, as a woman leader or professional, you want to invest in yourself and your personal growth, and maybe consider coaching as an opportunity, I'm offering 45-minute free exploratory or coaching sessions for you to try out, if that would be something for you. And otherwise, Jesika and myself, we will go and continue our day, and we wish you also a good, lovely day in the midst of whatever third wave or finishing your summer holidays in the north, or whatever it might be. Thank you, Jesika.
Thank you.